this second segment where we talk about the best power forwards in the NBA. Now, I just want to disclose something before I make this list because I want you guys to sort of understand where I'm coming from. Sabonis and Anthony Davis are not listed as power forwards. So, that means they aren't going to be on this list. So before any of you guys in the comments or like in your heads you go, where's Anthony Davis or where's Sabonis and something like that, they're not on this list because they're not listed as power forwards. I did a lot of extensive research trying to figure out who was listed at what and stuff like that. Also, Kristaps is not on this list either because, again, he is not a power forward. He is a center. This is a power forward list. So people who weren't listed at power forward for the season are not going to be on this list. I just want to let everyone know that before they lose their minds in the comment section being like, oh, where's Anthony Davis? Oh, where's Sabonis? Oh, where's this? Where's Victor? Da 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 da. No. Those guys are not listed at power forwards. You guys will see them in the next list when I bring up the best centers in the NBA, but this is strictly power forwards. I just want that to be, I just want everybody to know, and I'm saying it so loud and so clear so that way I don't get that one guy in the comments that's like, you forgot this or you forgot that. No, we're not doing that. Okay? So, first player on this list is going to be Giannis Antetokounmpo. No ifs, ands, or buts. He was the best power forward, period. He was in the MVP conversation. He averaged 30 points per game, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists, along with averaging 61% from the field. He became the first player ever to average these kinds of numbers in the modern NBA and was the only player to do so for the season. And again, the fact that he came fourth in the MVP discussion is just shows the talent of the rest of the NBA. Not to mention, while he's also a demon on the offensive side of the ball, he is arguably the best two-way player that the league has seen and that the league has in the NBA right now. He's won Defensive Player of the Year awards, he's won MVPs, he's won Finals MVPs, he's won championship rings. There has not been a single thing that this man has not done in the NBA. He is clearly the best power forward. There's no other power forward that even comes close to him in terms of natural ability, and there's no power forward that comes close to him in terms of accolades currently in the NBA right now. So he is clearly the best power forward. If you guys have a problem with him being ranked as the best power forward, you're probably just a hater, because I can't even lie, don't know why you would think anyone else is better than him. Now, next player on this list is Zion Williamson. Now, I really, really, really want Zion to succeed in this NBA. Aside from maybe LeBron and Giannis, he is by far the best finisher around the rim that I've ever seen play in this league. In his second year as an NBA player, he became an all-star and he averaged 27 points per game. He didn't really do as well in this year with the Pelicans, mainly because he was trying to share the ball amongst CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram. So figuring out, his place in that offense was a little bit challenging for him. However, he is still a very, very efficient 25 point per game scorer, 24 point per game scorer that shoots around 59% from the field as well as 34% from three. He's just ridiculous, and he's crazy efficient from inside the arc as well as outside the arc. He also averages 7 rebounds along with 4 or 5 assists as well. Now, the reason why, one of the biggest reasons why, I have him in second is because it's really based off of, potential. What he could do if he wasn't sitting out every single time, or if he wasn't getting injured here and there. Really, I think if he was healthy all the time, he would be the best power forward, which is why I have to put him on this list. Not to mention, in the play-in, he ended up scoring 44 points, I believe, And the only reason why he lost in that play-in game was because he got hurt at the end. And I really think he would have been a lot better in the postseason had he not gotten hurt. But we still haven't seen Zion in the postseason, but I really feel like he would be that play. I really think he would be that guy. Like, he's just that talented, and like I really want him to succeed. Like, maybe this is like the one bias that I have on this list, and I wouldn't really be upset at whether you have him. He needs to be in the top 5 though. I'd be upset if he wasn't in the top 5. And the rest of the players on this list I could see being over him. Like, the rest of the next players that I tell you on this list, I could see being over him, but really, I'm a big Zion fan, so this is why I have him in second. Now, next player on this list is Paolo Banchero. This man is arguably the most underrated player in the NBA right now. And, like, he just started his career. This is his second year. But in his second year, similar to Zion, he made the All-Star game. He averaged 22 points per game, 45% from the field, 33% from 3, as well as 7 rebounds, because he's averaging 6.9, as well as 5 assists as well. Practically every single stat has improved since his rookie year. And in the postseason, that was the biggest reason why I have him at number 3, because of his postseason performance. He averaged 27 points per game, shot 45% from the field, as well as 40% from 3, and 75% from the free throw line. And he also was able to average 8 rebounds along with 4 assists as well. And like the reality is that he is very underrated simply because of the team that he plays on. He plays for the Orlando Magic, and the Orlando Magic, they don't really have that much, how should I say, widespread media attention as other teams. It's one of those low market teams, so because of those low market teams, like, you know, they're not going to get nearly as much attention. Not to mention the fact that let's face it, like the playoff games between the Warriors, and not the Warriors, Jesus Christ, the Cavs and the Magic, they aren't really all that much. Like, they weren't getting nearly as much recognition as you would think they would get. Like, the games would start at around like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, which are the least viewed playoff games, by the way. And so because of that, it wasn't like Paolo was getting enough attention, despite the fact that he was really good in the postseason. In Game 3, he had 31 points. The only bad game that he had in the postseason was in Game 4. And even then, the Magic ended up winning that Game 4 by 23 points. And he had only 9 points in that Game 4. He shot really bad. But like I said, Game 3, he had 31 points. Game 5, he had 39 points and lost by 1 point. In Game 6, he had 27 points, and in the elimination game, in Game 7, he had 38 points. Now, that is some peak playoff performance right there, especially from someone who's only played in the NBA for 2 years. So I have to put him at this high of the list. And he's going to be ranked over someone like Pascal Siakam because, unlike Pascal Siakam, he doesn't have the support from a point guard like Halliburton. Now, I know I had Halliburton pretty low on the point guard list, but again, being a top 10 point guard in the NBA is not something to take very lightly. Like, that is a very difficult thing to be and a very difficult thing to achieve. So the fact that Tyrese Halliburton is even on that list is good enough in of itself. So Pascal Siakam being helped by that point guard on the list is going to dock a few points. And that's really like the biggest reason why I have Siakam as, you know, the 4th best power forward as opposed to, you know, the 3rd best power forward. He's had a pretty very decent career. Again, it's not really like all that jarring, I guess you could say, but it's been pretty solid. Like, it's a very solid career. He averaged 21 points per game in the regular season as well as in the postseason. He also averaged 7 rebounds in the postseason as well as in the regular season. He does have a championship ring, which differentiates him from these two players on the list, Zion and Paolo. But I mean, really the biggest reason why he's fourth on this list is because the fact that he's good now, and his resume also speaks for itself compared to every other power forward that's left on this list. Like, compared to every other power forward that's left on this list, aside from Giannis Antetokounmpo, he has a much better resume and a much cleaner resume than you would think. So that's the reason why I have him as fourth on this list. Next on this list is Karl Anthony Towns. Now, the reason I had to put him at top 5 because of the fact that he made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals finally. But again, he's going to get some points deducted simply because he, was assisted by Anthony Edwards, as well as the fact that he wasn't really that good in the postseason. He was very underwhelming in the postseason, and he's always been underwhelming in the postseason. But again, he does have the reputation as being the best big man shooter in NBA history. And a lot of people would put him at the center. He used to play the center, but now he plays power forward. So that's the biggest reason why he's even on this list. Because the rest of the power forwards, they're kind of weak. And you guys will see why as I continue with the rest of this list. But not really much that needs to be said other than that I just think Karl Anthony Towns is better than the rest of the players that are coming up on this list. And, especially given how he performed, in how he actually, brought his team pretty far into the postseason. Again, he also had the help from Anthony Edwards, but he was the face of this team for a while. But, those are just my opinions. Next player on this list is Lauri Markkanen. And Lauri is a bit of he's a bit here and there. I don't really know exactly how I should think of him, but I just can't really envision myself saying that he's better than Karl Anthony Towns because I still haven't seen him in the postseason. And because of the fact that I haven't seen him in the postseason, I think it would be a little bit premature to have him ranked higher than someone like Karl Anthony Towns, who has made it to the postseason and has brought his team to the postseason before. Granted, he obviously had help, but, I just can't put someone like Lauri Markkanen over Karl Anthony Towns. And, that's just my opinion. I can't have him better than Karl Anthony Towns. Next player on this list is Julius Randle, and the only reason why he's not being ranked over somebody like Lauri Markkanen is because Julius Randle is horrible in the postseason, but he makes the postseason. So the big reason why he's even on this list are his all-star appearances, as well as the fact that he makes the postseason. But aside from that, no. Julius Randle, his numbers are much better than Lauri Markkanen's, but in the postseason, he is just, he just turns into a completely different player that you don't want on your team. His points per game averages drop dramatically in the postseason. Like, for example, in 2023, he averaged 25 points per game in the regular season. But in the postseason, he averaged 16 points per game. That is almost a 10-point drop in terms of production. And, it's just why would you even want that? I'm sorry, that's just, that's awful. That's disgusting. Not to mention in 2021, his first playoff appearance, he shot 29% from the field as a power forward. That is awful. It is gross. And this is the biggest reason why he's ranked so low on this list, because he's good in the regular season, but in the postseason he's just not all that. And I know what you guys are thinking. Why would you rank him, higher than Lauri? Julius Randle doesn't make he makes the postseason, but he doesn't play well in it. And Lauri doesn't make the postseason at all. It's just because the way that Julius Randle falls off in the postseason is bad. And, it really needs to be studied. And I really don't think that Lauri would make that big of a fall-off compared to how Julius Randle makes a fall-off in the postseason. That's just me. Next on this list is Evan Mobley. And, I forgot. Julius Randle was 7th. I counted wrong. I apologize for that. But Evan Mobley is 8th on this list. And really, this is where, the power forwards, it's there's no one that really stands out in the power forward position. So Evan Mobley, it has to be talked about, especially for his defensive presence. But Evan Mobley could be the face of the Cleveland Cavaliers if the Donovan Mitchell scenario doesn't work out, or if Darius Garland doesn't pan out to how he needs to be. But Evan Mobley is definitely could be the head of the team when he develops and when it's all said and done. He averaged 16 points per game in the postseason. He also had a very good elimination game in the postseason when Darius Garland did not. So I really feel like that should be taken into account as well. And then the final two players on this list, they're just on this list because, I had to fill in the roster somehow. So we have Jalen Williams over here. Again, I had to fill in the roster somehow. And this is Jalen without the Y, I believe. So, just in case you guys are confused on which Jalen it is, because there's two Jalens on. There's actually three of them, I think. I think there's three Jalen Williams on the Oklahoma City Thunder. I have to check the roster again, but I do know there's more than one. So he's obviously, he was in the running for comeback player of the year at one point, but the biggest reason why he's so low on this list is because his team is really good. And because his team is really good, obviously, his performances are also going to be pretty good. And then the next player on this list, again, I had to fill in the slot for somebody. It's going to be Draymond. His defense is arguably the best defense at the power forward position, aside from someone like Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's really the big reason why he's in this discussion for being a top power forward. It's his defense, as well as his, amazing passing ability. And the fact that he can do everything else on the court efficiently and at an elite level aside from scoring. And that's the end. That's the conclusion of my power forward list. And we got a little bit, I got lost track, honestly. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the third segment where I talk about Caitlin Clark breaking another WNBA record. And I'm going to try to make that segment a little bit quickly because we did lose some time in the last segment. So be sure to stay tuned for this next segment coming up. I will be right back.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.